it would have bogged down development in the Midwest Mississippi Valley.
By it not happening?
What? Yeah, because when it happened, the native tribes,
Tecumseh was able to use that as a rallying point.
yeah, but without that rallying point,
You don't understand how Tecumseh how that relates to the New Madrid earthquake? I only know this because the New Madrid earthquake happens to be the earthquake that is the earthquake of record for almost all the nuclear power plants in the eastern United States. That one and the one in Charleston. They're the two big earthquakes everyone based all their designs on. That's why I know about the New Madrid earthquake. I'm a nuclear engineer. It turns out that Tecumseh was trying to rally the tribes behind him to fight with the British against the Americans in War of 1812. And so he sent out a bunch of messengers and a bunch of message sticks. So the story goes. And the messengers saying, on a certain date, the Great Spirit will send a sign, the skies will go dark, the rivers will run backwards, the earth will shake, all that kind of stuff, to show you that I'm the one who should be leading the first people. And the message stick was what? That every day they had to unwrap it one time. So it was going to happen when the message sticks for all the messages are unwrapped. And within a day or two, when they all unwrapped, the New Madrid earthquake hit. And by then, the Indians are going to follow Tecumseh wherever he went. That's the story.
But I mean, you're still looking at a natural disaster in terms of technology or political changes. Is there a different way to parse it other than one of those two camps?
A tsunami, a meteorite, a major meteorite strike. I haven't seen it in history, if that's what you're asking, but that would be the sort of thing.
most of your natural disasters, the impact is it's smaller in scale. It's more of a personal, unless you have something monumental, like, little ice age.
Someone wrote a story, I think, about if the Yucatan if meteor had not hit, because the dinosaurs have never let the mammals up, so we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, but unless you have a planetary scale, it's harder to parse it. I mean, I could go.
There's one I can think of. On the historical time when the civilized area that people knew of was small, and that was the volcano on
Krakatoa?
No, not Krakatoa. That took care of
Yeah,
that took care of Crete and the Mycenaean civilization.
Yeah, the origin of the flood stories. Yeah.
Yes. One of them.
Okay.
Do we answer your question? Kind of. Okay. Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll do this again because that's how we roll.
Well, the question I came in here with was World War I centric too, so I'll throw it at you.
Yeah.
My thoughts, I teach history in high school, so I have a little bit of background.
You go.
My thoughts wasn't, if the Germans win that one battle,
yes.
Obviously you've studied this a lot more than me, but I'm given to understand that the British had a much larger surface navy, that Kaiser Wilhelm II hadn't started really building the German surface navy until a decade prior, whereas England, since the Spanish Armada, had prided itself on its navy.
They had a numbers advantage, that's true.
And you think, you say after that defeat they start with the unrestricted submarine warfare, but those subs had to already be in production somewhere. Like, they didn't just start building the subs after that.
The point is that up until then they were using submarines under what's called cruiser warfare.
Yeah.
Where they would surface, they would approach the surface ship. The British were trying to deal with that by having their ships try to ram them, saying under the premise that if they sink you without warning, it's a propaganda process.
Or false flags,
all that kind of stuff. In fact, for a while it was true. It was an odd thing that the British had many sets of flags with all their merchants. Anytime they could, they flew an American flag. Except when the Americans were around, they flew something else. So the idea was they wouldn't sink American ships.
But the question I had for World War I is, I posit what would happen had the Confederacy succeeded, and there are two United States. The Confederate States and the Union States. Instead of sending the Zimmerman telegram to Mexico, they send a Zimmerman telegram to the Confederate States saying, if you get them involved, would that have...
Well, you have to think back too. Harry Turtle does a really good job doing this in Bakersfield. Harry Turtle, yeah. But basically, because of the large immigrant population up north, the odds are good that the United States would have been a member of the Central Powers of Germany and Austria-Hungary. We, as the Confederacy, would have been already allied. We would have already been allied to France and Britain because they would have recognized us around 62.
But the Monroe Doctrine would have still been in effect. I think the United States would have still been like, hey, that's a European war, we're not going to get involved.
Yeah, but at the same time, if your dad comes to you and says, I'm going to give you $5,000 to vote for the party of my choice in the next presidential election. If you don't, I'm going to take the keys from the car I bought you for graduation. The odds are above average you will vote against your principles to A, get the money, and B, keep what you got. That's kind of the position the South would have been in, because remember, we're highly agrarian. I mean, we are an agricultural driven society.
That's assuming that the Southern economy in 1865 continues to be the Southern economy.
Well, there's no real incentive not to, because we would have been getting hard currencies from overseas.
Well, where's our market? Our market, we can sell.
London, we were still.
Well, I mean, after the Civil War, the market for cotton falls apart. Because, like you said, they're importing cotton elsewhere. That's why the sharecropping system was so hard.
It's really hard to see ahead to World War I, though, because you created so many ripples in the time stream. Does the Spanish-American War happen in that way?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean,
Yeah, but that's my postulate is because of the population, you would have had America's Central Confederacy as allied.
I have no clue what happened.
And like I said, Harry Turtle done a really great job of eluding this, and it's. If you have not read that, I'm pretty sure you have. If you haven't, the Great War series is really good.
What if you want to change World War I? Why not just let the Germans stay on the defensive in the West?
Well, better yet, just
say we've won. We've already got the Alsace-Lorraine last war. We're not going to be able to get anything more. We don't want to PO Britain by going through Germany, through Belgium. We're just going to take land from Russia. But by the way, they're attacking Austria-Hungary ally anyway. So we're going to go to Russia first and try to get parts of the Ukraine state.
Or even better,
reverse. They win that war, by the way. I think they win that way.
Well, and I'm with you. The reason I find it so interesting is because you assume if World War I ends, there's no World War II differently, or at least it's not with Hitler at the charge, and that's why it seems like such a...
Anything that avoids the Holocaust is a great thing.
Well, but if Hughes gets 5,000 more votes in California, he's elected president. He's already been making noises for a year. The Republican Party is, Charles Schurz, all the Republican candidates have strong German ties. The Germans came over in 48 and helped form the party. Who's to say in 17 when the Germans start submarine warfare, we don't say, you know what? The Brits are being SOBs. Germany's got a case, and plus we can tweak the line still. Hughes wants to be reelected. There's still enough Irish immigrants, first generation Irish over here, to come out and vote in 1920 to keep him. If I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, by the way, we're going in with the Germans. Because really, truly, I mean, it's peas in a pod. I mean, it's not like, it's Hitler versus Churchill. It's this king versus this one. It's not, the choice isn't as stark as it is 30 years later. So yeah, I mean, I can see if Hughes gets elected president instead of Wilson. And like I said, the preparedness thing versus keeping us out of war. I mean, 3,000 votes in California decides the election. I mean, Wilson went to bed that night thinking he had lost. And, oh no, 2 days later, by the way, you carried San Francisco. Congratulations, Mr. President. Oh, and a year later, we're going to start